This is the Wandering Mike.
Welcome everyone to the Wandering Mike. Today I'm here with Dan. Hey Dan, how you doing?
I'm very well, Mike. Thanks for having me on your show.
Of course. I'm really looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be a very interesting and also very inspiring conversation. So, Dan, if you just want to introduce yourself to the people, tell us a little bit about your life and your journey, and then we go from there and ask you some things about that.
Sounds good, Mike. So, my name's Dan MacQueen. I'm a keynote speaker based in Vancouver, BC, Canada. I moved home to Vancouver after a decade in London, living in the big smoke, enjoying life. But I guess why I'm interested is I suffered a brain hemorrhage in 2014. I was having headaches that were getting progressively worse. After a few weeks, painkillers like candy for them. My head was pounding. So in the tube one day, the tube site zigzag around London, lumbering towards Notting Hill Gate tube station on the District line. For those of you that know the District line know that's a lumber at the best of times. Headaches were so bad, my vision turned into starry. I saw spots. And was slowly started to fade to black. It was a race to see who gets to the station first. Notting Hill Gate Station 2. Arrived at the station, stepped on the platform, mind the gap, and the lights went out. The curtain fell. I couldn't see. I was blind. So, Mike, I want to ask you, if you're in my shoes, able-sighted person your whole life, and all of a sudden you're thrust into the depths of blindness, the station is swirling around you. What would your first thoughts and impressions be?
Well, that sounds very horrifying. I don't know. I would be scared. I would definitely be very scared and would be wondering what's going on.
Yeah, it's a very accurate description of how I felt. But I did nothing. I stood there like a statue and just froze and just thought and thought and thought. Station swirling around me. How the hell am I getting out of this pickle? After the longest 3 minutes of my life, my vision came back and I carried on my day, carried on my tasks. But the next day I went back to A&E. A&E is accident emergency in the UK. So like ER in North America, maybe in New Zealand as well. And I came storming into the room and told them, you know what the hell's going on here? I was blind on a tube station in London. What the hell's going on? They ran some more tests, and again, they thought it was vertigo. They sent me home. But they told me on the way out I could always get my eyes checked by an optometrist. An optometrist thought, okay, that's interesting. The eyes are an extension of the brain, though, so that could work. Next day, the headaches came back with a vengeance. It wasn't blinding, but it was not far off. The headaches were so painful. I found myself in Mr. Patel's chair. He was midway through a routine exam when he stops the exam. Not a casual move. He excuses himself from the room and comes back a few minutes later with a sealed envelope, which he hands to me. He told me to go directly to Moorfields High School, which I did, Mike. Well, tell a lie. I stopped at home first to grab a Jack Reacher book by Lee Child, the phone charger to buy teas. Arrived at Moorfields Hospital, handed the envelope. They ran the same tests again. Then escalated me up to Charing Cross Hospital. We're getting somewhere. I'm thinking, this is positive. This is good. Now, it turns out I had a dangerous buildup of pressure in my brain caused from a non-cancerous systematic blood. This prevented the fluid of my brain to drain as it normally would. Now, it turns out I required emergency brain surgery tomorrow. Now, it turns out more was about to change altogether. After a frantic back and forth with folks in Canada, the last text message my mom received reads, I'll see you soon, Mom. Think I'll have a new haircut next time I see you. Love, Dad. She responds back with, you'll be even cuter, you're in good hands. Mom and Dad sending lots of love. Mom's in the air flying to London on June 21st, 2014. I'm on the operating table. Something goes horribly wrong. And I have a massive bleed in the brain. A brain hemorrhage. The cyst burst when they operated. Mom runs and finds I'm in critical condition. I was in a coma for 4 weeks. But was in and out of consciousness for months after this. Things were pretty dicey, touch and go. When all of a sudden I was learning how to walk, talk, and gosh, even smile again. This is where my story kind of kicks off, Mike.
Yeah, That's a uh, that's a very foreign experience to the majority of people. I think that's why I think it's very interesting to hear and for you to share this journey with us. So, um, from that point, when you uh, when you suffered that and you were in recovery, um, how I mean, you asked me how I would feel, but you were in that situation. So how do you feel? Just just then and there being told these things. You have to learn all this stuff over.
Well, so I woke up 4 weeks later after the coma. See my mom, dad, and brother around the bed. I'm trying to talk to them, but I can't talk because the tracheotomy had fried my vocal cords. I'm trying to communicate with them when I can. And I point at my brother, go, you, give me a pen and paper. I'll write this down. So I'm sure they were relieved that I could, think and still write and, brain injury, they know what the
Right.
prognosis is going to be. Wrote in the pen and paper, I wrote, get me out of here and pointed to Cam. Make it happen, bud. But I was buggered. I had one leg that had atrophied in the coma. I couldn't walk, couldn't talk. I was confused, frustrated, and angry. And it quickly became clear, like, this is my new reality. Healthy, active guy like the other day. Well, 4 weeks ago. And then all of a sudden you're thrust into the depths of this recovery and this illness and this situation. And it took a long time to get my head around this. But I slowly realized that, like, this has happened. You can't undo what's happened. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. And I slowly realized, like, I've got to stay positive here. I've got to work at this and kind of build myself back up. And it was not easy to do this, but I never allowed myself to get negative, and I never allowed myself to feel pity and spirally. I mean, I did for a few minutes here, but like I really cut it off quick because I knew it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. And I slowly started to, the wheelchair took 45 minutes to get into the first time. And the next week took 40. Week after that, 35, then 30. Incrementally ratcheting this up to build myself back up and slowly control what I can control. Eventually I was moved to Wilson Rehab Center. I was learning how to walk again. That was the main goal was to walk. Well, I'll back it up first. First thing I had to overcome was speaking again. So my parents had built this little dossier of me when I was in a coma. It kind of describes who I was, a person like Dan Schwartzman, a traveler, a master's graduate, lived in Sweden, living in London. Like he's this kind of guy to make me feel like I was a real person, not just a blob on the bed in the ICU. And so this Kiwi nurse read the file and she goes, I'll get Dan talking again. She took me out of the park where there's some kids playing football across the park, soccer across the park. And she goes, Dan, those kids across the park, they don't think you're good enough to talk, Dan. They don't think you're good enough to talk. And I quickly found out this is a trigger for me. And I yelled across the park some profanities. I spare you and your listeners, but needless to say, I found out this is the trigger for me. And I was, I wasn't talking, I was singing. I was yelling across the park in muffled bursts of outrage and anger and frustration, but I can talk. Damn it, who are you talking to? That fire inside me was kind of ignited, and I kind of realized that's a huge motivator for me. I want to share a story about the splint, if I may, Mike. And that's at
Of
Wolfson
course.
Rehab Center. It was about 3 months after the injury. I had to wear a splint over my left leg. A splint is like a cast you wear to gently tease out the leg muscle. That's this bag that was sold. So gently tease it out, and we'll get you, and then they can rehab in the nighttime, or rehab during the day, and then wear the splint at nighttime to stretch it out, and you'll be right as rain, hopefully. And the first night I wore the splint through the night, no issue, no stress. This will be easy. I thought this will be easy. Boy, was that wrong. The second night, after 20 minutes, it was painful. After 30 minutes, it was dreadful. After 40 minutes, it was unbearable. I buzzed the nurse on the nurse call button. We got to take the splint off my leg because I can't handle the pain. But I tell them tomorrow we'll do this for an hour. I'm a walker. I can handle the pain. Big talk. The third night, they rubbed my leg, tied up at the ankle. Give me the click of the nurse call button. They go patrol the Wilson ward. Now, the Wilson ward was an L shape, so short on this side, long on this side. Okay, short on this side, long on this side. Leave me in a hospital room that smells like only a hospital room can smell. Sanitized, sterilized, clean, but you wonder what sort of atrocities have been committed under the guise of this lemony zestness. After 10 minutes, the leg's painful. After 20 minutes, the leg's dreadful. After 30 minutes, the leg's unbearable. I started passing the clicker back and forth, trying to distract myself from the pain. I'm like, I've got double vision still from the brain injury, so that means I see two of you right now. So I'm blessed with that. Thank you for that. But it means I can see this clicker going back and forth, right? As the pain ratchets up, my throws get more enthusiastic. Till eventually, inevitably, I drop the clicker and I land on the hardly on the floor 3.5 feet down the ground. Sugar, I say. I do not say sugar, Mike. I look over the edge of the bed. I can see the clicker that lie on the floor looking back at me. If I can get to that clicker, I can stop this pain I can in this monstrosity. Only problem was, if I fall from my height, might break my arm. In fact, I figured what a 50-50 chance me break my arm. Coin flip, not the best odds. I changed tack. I'm trying to undo the split, but it's tied up at the ankle, not at the hip. I can't reach out that far down. I'm not that flexible. Help, fail. The war of the wolves was an L shape, right? Short on this side, long on this side. Short on this side, long on this side. They're at the far end of the ward. They can't hear me out for help. I decided to flip the coin, drop down and grab the clicker. Even if I break my arm, splints gotta come on my leg. That's priority number 1, 2, and 3. I lower myself up the edge of the bed, and I crash down and heat blankets, wires, cables, solid go. The arm holds. And I hammer the clicker, expecting the nurse to come bursting into the room like the bat signal. They kind of stroll in 5 minutes later. What you doing the floor, love? First of all, I say, that's a fantastic British accent up there. Where'd you see it from again? Mike, I did not say that. I said, let's go splint off my leg, please. I'll tell you all about this. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to this matter, right? It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to the matters. The reason why I told you this story is I learned 3 lessons from this experience, Mike. The first lesson being, probably most obvious, let's not pass the clicker back and forth. That's a bad idea. The second lesson being, let's have the splint off of the hip, not the ankle. That way I can untie this should this happen going forwards. And the third lesson, and probably most profound, was let's always be solutions oriented from this going forwards. When things go sideways in life, which they will, focus on right then and there how you resolve your issue. How do you fix your problem? And then backtrack and figure out why it happened to what happened in the future. The moment of contact, how do you fix your issue? Now, I share that story to showcase how painful and arduous and grimy the splint was to wear. In my mind, this is a 50-50 chance to break my arm. And damn it, I flipped the coin. And I'm happy to say I didn't break my arm, but like I learned a lesson from this experience of like, let's always focus on the solution. With the help of the splint, I was able to start walking always the Wilson. On the Zimmer frame, which is like a 4-post walkie you kind of lurch forward on. Then I moved up to the Ferrari. The Ferrari was a 4-wheeled walkie you kind of race around the hallways in. It's a walker for like granny, so I'm not going that fast, but for me, there's a brief light. Then I moved up to naked walks. Now, naked walks sound a bit raunchy. They're just walk without sport or aids. I was walking naked. The term kind of stuck. It was a long road down to get to the naked walks, but man, I'm just happy to move. Then came time to walk in Tooting Broadway. We're doing Tooting and Shooting Broadway. So, Mike, have you been to London, England?
I have been, but it's been a while ago. But yeah, I have definitely been.
Okay, so you understand the energy, the pulse, the vibe of the city. It's pretty energetic. See the Belmont
Yes,
bespoke. Have you been to Tooting Broadway, do you recall?
I don't think so. Not by that name.
It's not on the tourist map, that's for sure. So let me set the
Accurate.
scene
Yeah.
for you and your group here. Tooting Broadway is an area in South London, an area they call up and coming. Big cloud sirens, drugs, gangs. It's dirty, it's hectic, and boys are busy. I walk with a cane, I walk with an eye patch. After 4 months in a wheelchair, I'm literally Bambi on ice. I turn the corner to walk on the high street for the first time. Immediately get slammed into by someone. Stagger back 2 feet. Someone scurries past me on the right-hand side. I thought I was done with the rats. Someone had been stabbed on the sidewalk over here. I'm thinking this is a pretty wild place for her to walk. After a few days of this, I was thinking, this is the worst place to learn to walk in the world. Can't they see I'm trying to walk here? Can't they see I'm trying here? And then one day my perspective shifted. Maybe this isn't the worst place to learn to walk in the world. Maybe it's the best. If I can walk here, I can walk anywhere. My tune probably didn't change, right? But it went from the worst to the best in my mind, and I'm just looking at that. What are you looking at in your life you're convinced is the worst? Convinced that's the worst. Hey, maybe it is. Maybe you can find a way to turn down the suck a little bit, shift that perspective a little bit. Iron Mike Tyson famously said, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Now, your punch may not be a brain hemorrhage, right? Facts. It will be a job loss, a breakup, a diagnosis for you or a loved one. You'll take that punch in the mouth, how you respond. I'm offering a compass, not a map, but a compass. It always points towards true north. Look at things like mindset, perspective, and hacks. Hacks that will allow you and your team to be better than yesterday, tomorrow. My name's Dan MacQueen. The reason why I told you that story about learning to walk in tune Broadway is when you change the way you look at the world look at changes. And you don't need a brain hemorrhage to understand that. So the story I shared to kind of showcase the perspective shift I underwent to make this the worst, not the best. Because that honestly made walking in tune Broadway tolerable. I looked forward to it. Like all that grind and grit and that contact and frustration and adversity made me relish it, and I wanted more of it. It was like, make me better. You're leveling me up with this. Like I really pivoted and turned a corner on that moment. But initially, this was so difficult to navigate and deal with because I was so woes me about this. When I flipped the script, this is an opportunity to learn in the best place in our walk in the world. What a blessing this is! Like it just unlocked walking in Tune Broadway. Now, no disrespect to Tune Broadway; it's a lovely place, I'm sure. Still up and coming as far as I'm worth today, but it was a hard lesson to learn, and it was a great experience that I had and a good story to share on the podcast.
Yeah. So like you said, it's a hard lesson to learn because in hindsight, I mean, obviously you don't make it sound easy, but I can imagine before that shift, like there must have been so many things in your head. Like, um, I just imagine it being very hard for someone to really go there and say, yes, this is the best place. And obviously, it's so admirable that you did and that you took that strength from going there. But how hard was that switch in your mindset?
It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
And for a few days there, I was like, this is the worst. Can I see I'm trying to walk here? Like I was really woes me. And then I kind of thought about this. What makes it the worst? Well, it's difficult. They don't respect me walking. I'm walking with a cane and an eye patch. Like, can't they see I'm trying to walk here? Like, give me some space, give me some grace. And I kind of realized, like, if I was trying to put in like a program for like how to walk in the best place to walk in the world, wouldn't I want it to be difficult and challenging and striving to make me better? And I kind of realized, like, this is what I've got. Like, I'm making, lemonade out of this, like lemons to lemonade. Like, shift your perspective and watch your world unfold to like make things easier to navigate. But like in life, we have these moments where you can kind of choose to look at it one way or the other way. And like, I'm just saying, if you shift your perspective even a little bit, you can turn down that suck a little bit. Like, it's not as bad as you think it is, or you can make it less so. You can make it better than you think it is. And that helps you navigate this space and just unlock your mindset. Like the mind is like initially was asked what's the most difficult part of this, right? I was in a wheelchair, big sportsman, and I said physical, no doubt. But by far it was the mental. The mental unlock of like what's happened to me and like this not being fair. Like that was by far the most difficult thing. And like I was in a wheelchair for 4 months with this. But mental was by far the most difficult thing. But like once you get the mindset of this, you start to relish those opportunities to be better and like these opportunities for growth, and you make this kind of a challenge and a game and just kind of incrementally ratchet this up. And I'm not saying it's easy to do, but like so I'm building this new keynote now, Mike, that's called AAA framework, and I want to walk through this quickly with your group. So
Yeah.
AAA. So acknowledge, accept, and adapt. This is how you navigate adversity in on all sorts of forms. So I'll map it out for you. Acknowledge is the head. It bleeds with your head. You know, that first day when I woke up in the coma, mom, dad, brother on the bed, like I had a brain hemorrhage. Okay. I had a brain hemorrhage. Kind of acknowledge it with your head. And then acceptance is the heart. You got to kind of feel it and own it. And that's really difficult to kind of come to grips with when you've been going through something difficult, but like acceptance is absolutely key. Wishing something didn't happen is not an adequate way to resolve it or rectify it. Accepting it, you can understand the new parameters and take steps to improve your lot. That means it's the last day, which is adapt. And this is about, shifting mindset, about coming up with little hacks to make life easier for you and just turning down the suck. Understanding, I have to do this to be successful. Adapting to your new situation. Like a friend of mine, Dr. James Hewitt, mentioned we were talking about some of the stories I talk about on stage. And he mentioned me, you really got a lot of grit down, but you really have like not like a Goggins perspective because I don't hold that as like a marker for success always. Like I can adapt to it. I kind of adapt to how I'm feeling and doing, and that's allowed me to kind of navigate this in a way that respects my new parameters and my new limitations, but also be the best I can be. But adapting is so key. So again, acknowledge, accept, and adapt. You follow those three things and you can navigate almost any difficult space in your life. I'm not saying it's easy to accept, acknowledge, or even adapt, but like that's the framework you have to do to navigate hard times. And if you do that, I promise you'll be in a better space than you were beforehand.
So obviously, accepting can be very hard for people, but um, even the acknowledging, um, do you have maybe tips for the people? Because in your situation, you woke up and you were kind of forced to acknowledge. But sometimes in life, we're trying to tell ourselves stories. We're trying to say, oh, that's not really the way it is. Maybe we're putting ourselves in the victim role where we maybe not. So, um, n- just the acknowledging part of it, being very aware of the objective situation. Do you have any tips for that stage?
Well, acknowledge is probably the easiest one to do because it's just like opening your eyes and just seeing, well, where am I at right now? Like I woke up in that hospital bed and be like, okay, Dan, you had a brain hemorrhage. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's like you were in a coma for 4 weeks. You've woken up now. Your parents are in London from Vancouver. Your brother's from Berlin to London. Um, you're just kind of this happened. It's not saying it's good or bad, but like this happened. The acceptance part is probably more difficult than saying like this happened, but feeling it and acknowledging that or accepting that it happened. Acceptance slaps because people think like, if I accept it, that means it's fair. That means it's right. Like it's not fair that it happened, but it happened. It's like it's not fair, but it's not personal, but it's your responsibility, right? Like it's like you have to kind of accept it to improve it. If you don't accept it, like you can be like, "What was me?" and this shouldn't have happened. Like, it doesn't matter if it should or shouldn't have happened. Like it happened, and then accepting it to be able to fall into it and dive into it fully is like what you need to do. And it does sound a bit abrasive to say you have to accept things in life that are bad that happen, but you can't improve it unless you accept it. And I stand by that fully. I had a job loss 2 years ago, and my brother calls me, he goes, "Down, I heard, sorry to hear about your job loss, but knowing you used to be a minor blip in the radar." And it was like went out for a boozy lunch. I worked in this company for 10 years, right, Mike? Wrong side of a spreadsheet, was part of a corporate restructuring that happened overnight. And I lost my job after 10 years in an instant. Went out for a boozy lunch. On that lunch, after my second or third margarita, decided I'm a keynote speaker tomorrow, which means I need a computer today. And I made that choice to do that in an instant. Now, I wasn't over the job loss in an afternoon, but I made the choice. You have the ability to choose how you face things day in, day out. I've shortened the acceptance period each step along the way. The faster you get to acceptance, the faster you can improve law and take steps to resolve your issue. If you don't accept it, you can't improve it because it's not real. It's not. You're not allowing yourself to grieve and to improve and to heal. Once you accept it, you can take steps to rectify your situation and improve. So that's a framework that I think can really help, and just work to reach peace, like acknowledge, accept it, and adapt. And I speak of this, through my keynotes, but also through podcasts and lots of stories and suggestions about how I felt and navigated the situation. But the story of walking into Rob is an example because that just showcases how you acknowledge, accept, and adapt. Like, this is the best place on earth to walk here. Like, I'm adapting to the situation because this is what it is. You can wish it was different, but it's not. It is what it is. You can choose to face as the worst or the best. And once you make the best, then just embrace it through that lens. Once the lens changes, everything is filtered through that lens. And you're kind of forced to abide by this new paradigm shift.
So, maybe this also plays into the accepting part, but I reckon it probably was difficult as well to find appropriate goals because when you were trying to walk again, let's say, obviously you weren't trying to sprint right from the get go. So, um, how difficult or how was that accepting that there is specific steps you have to do one first before you can do two, before you can do three, and basically finding a good way to finally reach the end goal where you want to end up.
Yeah, it's a good question, Mike. These took the goal setting took the stage of like getting the wheelchair in 45 minutes. Then the next week I did 40. Week after that, 35, then 30. Like, you're ratcheting this up week by week and just doing what you like, dealing with your situation, right? I had this opportunity to go home after 3 months, 4 months from the initial brain hemorrhage. I had a chance to go home to visit my flat in Hammersmith. Um, the only thing that stood between me and way I'm not going to home visit were the stairs to get back to my flat in Hammersmith. As my mom put it, there must be 100. There's actually 44 steps. 44 steps didn't sound like much, but keep in mind I was first out of a wheelchair. That's like a rather tall order. Again, trying the stairs in the hospital, building way up to 44. 44 was all I needed to have a weekend away, a weekend out of the jury hospital. I set this goal for myself, or rather it was set for me. Come hell or high water, is making those 44 steps back home. Over the course of a few weeks, I built my way up to 44 steps and I was allowed back home. Home sweet home. Man, that was a good feeling. I made the best BLT sandwich at the top of those 44 stairs in my life. But it was 44 stairs, not 100. So make sure you're aiming at the right targets. What are you aiming at? I went skiing 2 years ago, Mike. Oh, give you some context. I was a big ski racer growing up. Skied 3 times a week on the hill. Massive wipes were common. I was an instructor after uni for a season. I was pretty comfortable on the hill and like to attack the vertical. So working on the even bars early days at Charing Cross Hospital from brain hemorrhage. You have a team asking what I want to get back to doing. Big sportsman. I played all the sports: soccer, hockey, volleyball, softball, skiing. They asked me what do I want to get back to doing. Most of the thing I want to get back to doing the most. And I thought about this. Like, what's the most difficult thing to get back to doing that I could realistically do, right? Skiing being the most difficult. Balance, core strength, depth perception, television would make things interesting, engage in obstacles at speed. If I could ski again, I'd have to be in pretty way physically, right? I told them I want to ski again. They paused. Not in agreement. Okay, they said. But I'm sure it was a simple exercise designed to get me thinking about future goals has been burned in the back of my mind and something I got into. So they asked me, when do I make this happen? I said, 10 years from the brain injury. So 10 years was 2022, so a couple years in the past. Getting into March, brought the skis in the shop to get waxed. They get sharpened. They couldn't adjust my bindings. Those are tools we worked on, they told me. For liability reasons, they couldn't adjust them. Cool, cool, cool. I thought your bindings hold your feet to the skis and they break off when you fall. They don't. I used to ski a lot of steep bumps and I had them ratcheted up to the highest level so they wouldn't break off unless I fell. Because there's nothing more frustrating than skiing and having your skis quit on you where you haven't actually fallen, but the bindings blow out because the tension's too high. I thought that wouldn't be a big deal. It's not a big issue. I took a stab March 31st. My buddies Andrew and RJ. The base, the grouse mountain super scared. I remember a little hack as an instructor and a ski racing punk. That was me the last one on the gondola. That way you can rest your poles and your skis on the doors that close behind you. I told the boys we're going to be the last one on the gondola. Get the spot in there, get our gear wear looking good when we get on there. Go on the gondola, get the spot. Riding up the gondola. I'm thinking to myself, I hope this comes back. I wasn't sure I would be able to ski. Like, how is this going to look? I'm looking like a total idiot. Run up the gondola. If you don't close your eyes, we'll take it to the last leg of the gondola here. Feel the nipper cold in your cheeks. Not a lot, but enough to let you know you're altitude. Dock of the station. We're clopping into the station with our gear. Clomp, 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 clomp. Open the doors into a wall of sunshine. Beautiful bluebird day. Big inhale through your nose. Smell the pines, the snow, the change of environment down the stairs. Clang, clang, clang onto the snow. Crunch, crunch, crunch. It's soft back. It's spring, don't you know? We situate with the boys, Andrew and RJ. And then through 10 years off the slopes, I skied like I never missed a day. I've got video of this, and it is like I never missed a day. We were an old hack as an instructor to put your poles on your hands and to keep your upper body still and have lower body active like a duck. And I was skiing like I never missed a day. It was phenomenal. It was going fast. I felt free. I felt the smile on my face. You couldn't wipe it off. It was there. It was in my bones. It was in my muscle. I remembered how to do it easily. And, it was a green. It wasn't like a black diamond run, but it was a green. And to be honest, I didn't think this was even possible. They didn't think this was even possible. They humored me by saying, yeah, sure. But this is a goal I worked at for, 8 years since the brain injury. 10 years in the making. But like, I visualized this day in, day out. 3 pumps of poles into a left-hand turn again and again and again. And I visualized the movements and feeling the weight shift on my knees and legs and how it would feel and how I would lean into the turns and I skied. This is a goal that, I ratcheted up to. I didn't come out of the gate just swinging for the skiing. The 44 stairs was first. To get in the wheelchair in 45 minutes was first. Like I ratcheted this up to a point where I get back. So if you're not able to hit your goals, I'd say you're just aiming a bit too high. Take a step back. What's the next step below that or 2 steps below that? And solely aim for that. Goal setting to keep it like at the end, start of a 100-meter race, everyone's got the same goal to win that race. But only one person does win it, right? So set your goals to a place where you can just stretch it enough to get there. I'll share one more story about challenging preconceived notions and whatnot. I used to shower with a bath mat. Help me balance, right? I hated this bath mat because I'd hang it up on the shower wall and it'd remind me every day that I'm not good enough to stand. And I'd dry off in the day and I'd wear it the next morning, reuse it the next morning. One day I decided, you know what? I'm not using this bloody bath mat anymore. There's a symbol of like, I'm not good enough. And I'm like, screw this. Fuck this bath mat. So I told my folks, I'm not using the bath mat anymore. I don't need this thing. They go, oh, no, you got to use the bath mat. The doctor said you got to use this. You might slip and fall. And I said, no, I'm not using the bath mat anymore. And the next day I didn't use the bath mat. And guess what? I was fine. So I retired the bath mat. I used to walk with a cane. Came to Vancouver for a trip. Forgot my cane in London. Guess what? I was fine. So I retired the cane. Used to wear a contact lens over the left eye to correct for double vision. An upgrade from the eye patch. Went to safari in South Africa. Let dust and dirt real my eye with the contact lens. So I retired. I didn't bring the eye patch or the contact lens. And guess what? I was fine without the eye patch or the contact lens. So I retired the eye patch. Only by challenging your preconceived notions of where you can and can't do you realize where your limitations are. Now, do this in a responsible way. Don't hurt yourself by doing this, but only by risking failure can you really strive for greatness and improving yourself. Only by risking failure can you improve. Those are things that you're like, don't get rid of the bad night down. You can't do this. It's not safe. It's like only by stretching can you improve. And that's something I take with me every day now. I was like, well, is it this way or can I shift my perspective on this? And that's goal setting at its finest.
Right. Um, maybe can you say a little bit more about finding these preconceived notions as well? Because again, I'm just imagining people maybe not having a exact bad mat in their shower. They're not wearing an eye patch, but they are limited in other regards. And again, it comes back to the acknowledging and accepting part. So how can they make out these limitations that they're setting day in day out?
Well, anything you can't do, just challenge the notion like, why can't I do this? Why do I think I can't do this? And look, do this in a responsible way. Don't shoot for like ridiculous stuff and be like, well, I failed. It's like, well, no shit, but like you can't it's too big here. But like if you stretch a little bit and realize you're fine, it's like, well, why did I think I couldn't do that? And once you do it once, it's like it was never there. Like it all just fades into like, oh, I can do this. And it washes away that doubt, that question if I can do this. But like only by risking failure can you reach that out. So like anything in your life, like talking to the girl, talking to the guy, going for the promotion, like challenging yourself on a run you can't do. Like, okay, show me your failed attempts. Show me when you failed to do this. Only by showing me your failed attempts can we really break down why it didn't work and adjust and adapt to it, right? If you don't try, you can't improve. I say in my talk, try, that's the most important bit. Because in rehab, like, I had a friend Claire visit me and she goes, "Dang, you're progressing so well. You're doing so well here." She came to visit me in London, then she went to Scotland, and I was in a wheelchair at the stage. When she came back from Scotland, I was walking, but I was walking on a different frame, but I was walking. I wanted to show her I was worthy of the praise she was giving me, that I'm worthy of this love and admiration she's given me. That drove me. That motivation drove me. So you just got to stretch. There'll be stuff that you think you can't do, or like you got to challenge these notions, understand why you think that way, and you'll. They may not be apparent off the hop, but like you'll go through day-to-day life and be like, well, why don't I think I can do this? Why don't I think I cannot do this? Why can't? Yeah, you get what I'm saying. And then just challenge that. And look, you may fail. You may fail again and again and again, but you got to get up and try again and break down why it failed, why it didn't work, and try again. So try. That's the most important bit. Try. That's the most important bit.
Um, so something that I sometimes think might be a reason why people don't try too hard as well, and please tell me if you agree with it or not, um, might be that they regard life as something too serious as well. Like they say, okay, if I try this and I fail, like you just said, then maybe I am a failure or whatever they tell themselves. And do you think that it helps in this regard to also, again, change the mindset and say, okay, I'm trying these things. I'm trying this, I'm trying that. And whatever the result, I'm just going to go from there and being like, I don't know if serious is the right word, but being less serious about things.
Yeah, life's about fun, about play, about trying things out and failing and fucking up and improving. And like, if you're not failing, you're not even trying. You're not failing in life on a regular basis. Like, you're not pushing your boundaries. Like, when I was a new keynote speaker now, and on podcasts, like, I'm failing all the time, but like, I'm improving after the failures. After every failure, I look at why I failed, break it down, and say, well, I failed here because I didn't adjust my browser to fit this, like, doing the server bonds. Like, next time, do that. I did a recording for Brain Injury Canada conference last year, 2 years ago. And I was recording the keynote or like I hear the presentation I was doing, and I was flowing well. The talk was going so well. Excuse me, and I dropped my hand touched the space bar and it jumped ahead a whole bunch of slides and the recording, so I had to restart it. And recording again, it was okay. It wasn't nearly as good as the first time. I realized, okay, when you're doing a presentation, then you need the clicker because you don't want to risk bashing the keyboard and skipping out your slides. Like avoid that failure in the future. But like learn from this. It's like I did this podcast for this gaming podcast, right? I'm not a big gamer, Mike. So like I was like, what did I say? I wrote gaming podcast. He goes, well, when was the last video game you played? Mario Kart 64. He goes, we'll talk about that. Okay, so life's like Mario Kart 64. You're doing one of those mushroom races or whatever, and you go around, hit the obstacle on the left hand, and the second turn on the left hand side, first lap. Okay. Hit it the second lap, like, cool. Hit it the third lap, you're like, hey man, you know the obstacle's there, drive around it. Life's like that. Like if you know there's patterns there, right? Like avoid that. You keep hitting it. It's like if you don't change, you're not going to avoid this. But you know the obstacle's there, so avoid it for the third lap, man. I fail all the time. Like, and I haven't been saying that I rarely failed the same thing twice, but that's not true. Rarely do I fail the same thing 3 times. I felt the same thing twice quite often. But like, you got to learn from this experience, right? If you don't learn, if you don't try, man, I can't help you. Like, you got to kind of understand the patterns here and understand why it didn't work and break that down. But like, life's like Mario Kart 64. It's a game. Make it fun. Make it light. I've got a podcast as well, Mike, called Play Loose, Look Tight, documenting the personal life after. Interesting name, Dan. What does that mean? Mike, I'm glad you asked the question. So play loose, look tight is a life mantra in 4 words. Play loose. There's a lot of you. Have fun. Play is the first word by intention. You're not playing. You're not having a good go at life. Life's about fun. Life's about play. Life's about a lot of ease. Conversely, you want to look tight. On time. Dressed well. Professional in your demeanor. Like, you got to juxtapose play loose and look tight in every day. Play loose, look tight is a life mantra I live by. And that's, I don't know, hopefully you do some fodder to speak about there too.
Yeah. Um, that actually sounds like a good mantra to live by. Um, Play loose and look tight, and that incorporates the idea of just trying and failing. Um, how do you, even though we are basically always experimenting, we're always trying new things, how are you also keeping a routine in your life? Because I reckon that that's something very important to, well, to me personally, I reckon to a lot of people. So how do you go about keeping a routine in your life, keeping yourself grounded to some sort?
Yeah, for sure. That's a good question, Mike. Look, I'm a creature of habit and I find out what works for me and I hammer that. Because when I follow a routine, I'm eliminating choices and bandwidth I have to use to do regular stuff. So I've got a morning routine that I use religiously. And I'll walk into the morning routine if I can.
Yeah.
So wake up. I used to go for a walk or a gym in the morning, but now I just kind of sleep in and try and get my rest and recovery. Through failure, I know that rest is the most important part of my life. To wake up and make my bed, the first thing I do is make my bed. I do that for 2 main reasons. The first reason is the room will look tidy. It can be messy, but the bed's made, the room will look tidy. The second reason is the first task you accomplish in the day. You paved the way for more success. Last thing you do in the day is get into bed. Hey, I accomplished it in the morning. Then I have a shower. And, have a nice warm shower, get all cleaned up. Then I end the shower cold. Nothing heroic here, 1 to 2 minutes, but all the way cold. I go into that struggle every day willingly, so I know that I can do hard things. Get in the shower, then I meditate. Usually for about 20 minutes. And then I start my day. I armor up the same way every day. There's no question about how I armor up. I do this every day to build myself up for the day. I also nap in the afternoon for about an hour to kind of rest and recover. because I know through trial and error that if I don't do that, I'm not as good as I could be. Fatigue is the big issue with a brain injury. If I don't respect that battery, I'm not as good as I could be. But like self-awareness is pretty key for this, right? Understand what makes you work and makes you tick. But only through trial and error can you figure out what works and what doesn't work. Like fall down 7, get up 8. Like I fail again and again and again. And that's why I pivoted and succeed. If you're not failing, you can't understand this. And you know, they say a wise man learns from his experience and like a wiser man learns from others' experiences. You know, I wouldn't say, I'd say I still have to do it myself and bugger up myself to learn, but I'm trying to at least learn from other people's experiences as well and like take on board what works for them. Like I used Tim Ferriss, what was his book? Tools of Titans or one of those books. And I looked at like the morning routine or habits of highly effective people, right? And I incorporated those into my morning routine, like build myself up. Meditation was in there, like cold shower was in there, making the bed was in there. Like, and I kind of brought this into my vibe. And I've had other ones that I punted because they're not valuable for me. Like figure out what works for you and double down on that. Bet in yourself and just kind of see what makes you tick.
Yeah. Um, One question I basically ask all the guests as well, and I'm very interested in your answer on that, is to you personally, what defines a happy and fulfilled life? So, with everything that you've been through, so what would you say would that be for you?
Happy and fulfilled life. I think challenge is a big part of that. Like I feel like I'm stretching myself and challenging myself day in, day out. And that's through my battery, my bandwidth, my purpose in life, my work. You know, I'm becoming a keynote speaker now, and that's simple, not easy is what I say. Simple, not easy. Simple as I'm a keynote speaker, but damn, there's a lot of steps to become a keynote speaker. But I'm chasing that down because I've identified that's what I want to do, and it fulfills me. When I speak in a room and I get people lighting up and telling me, "Dad, I never thought about this. Really, it's phenomenal." Like it gives me some juice because I'm like passing on my knowledge, my learnings, my failures to you, and you're learning from this, allowing you to learn through my experience. And like I'd say, you really got to be self aware here with what drives you and double down on that. I'm very, very in tune with what drives me and what makes me tick and what makes me go. And like I just do that. I punt the rest. So I guess being self aware is pretty key for this. Understand what makes you tick. If that may be, maybe that for you, that's a simple job and family time. Who knows? But for me, it's something of value and meaning, and that's the work I'm choosing to do as a keynote speaker and add value and sharing this perspective I learned because I paid for this in blood, sweat, and tears. And Mike, I had a lot of help. Friends and family came over from Vancouver. Doctors and nurses are phenomenal. Like they helped me boom me back up. I had so much help in this post. If you don't have this help, man, I'd be finished. Sure, I did the work and made this happen, but like only through your love and support was able to make this work and make this a success. So that's why I'm driven and give this message and pay this forward to like help you navigate this because you can do this, but you got to put the work in. And it's not going to happen overnight. That skiing goal was 10 years in the making, right? And the last ski trip I was on, like, it's like every day be better than yesterday and work towards that. If I'm better than yesterday, I'm chasing down my goals. I'm chasing down my dreams. I'm chasing down myself being better than I was yesterday. And that's fulfillment for me is being better than yesterday.
Um, I don't know if that is something you want to share, but it is to me very interesting to see the progression of your goals and dreams in your journey that we laid out. So you talked about the keynote speaking at the moment and that being a goal. Is there any other dreams or goals that you're currently working towards that you want to share?
Yeah, well, a big audacious goal I've set for myself is Madison Square Garden speaking on the stage there, which is ridiculous. That's insane. There's no way I'm going to get to this goal. But it's a goal I've got there and I'm working towards it every day. The biggest audience I've spoken to now is maybe 400 people. Like, well, that'd be like 20,000 people in the stadium. Like that's a goal. And why not? That's it's a long year, many years off in the future, but like, why not? Why not aim big? That skiing goal was impossible, man. There's no way they thought I'd be skiing again. That was outlandish. They even said that. And they humored me and said, sure, it sounds good. And I skied. I walked back into that ICU, maybe, 5 months after the brain injury. And the head nurse, the doctor there was gobsmacked. She burst into tears because I was walking with a cane in her attached. And I walked in and she's like, oh, I thought you were, I'm so glad to see you well and healthy. You're doing so well here. But like, that was, that brought a lot of joy to me just to know that I was giving that back to someone and paying it forward. I, I'll share some of the medical stuff that might be of value to your group here. And that's the worst experience I had in the hospital and the best experience I had in the hospital. I'll start with the worst and then with the best because I don't like ending on a sour note. So the worst experience I had in the hospital was, brought into the optometrist after the brain injury, and she drags her pen down. She goes, "Let me know when you can't see the pen, but don't move your head." And the double vision, the eyes are buggered. I can't track stuff properly. And I go, "Well, I can't really track that pen because double vision makes it difficult to see. When that goes away, I should be able to see that just fine." And she goes, "Well, that's not going to go away." I go, "Excuse me?" She goes, "It's not going to go away. That's going to be for life." And I go, "Well, I'd never heard that before." And I can't tell you the gut punch that was because no one had ever told me this. And she was just treating me like I should just know that. She's like, "Well, that's her life." I'm like, "Well, that's my life, man. That's my fucking life. Now I've got to deal with it the rest of my life." And I never heard that before. Like, I was treated as a patient first and a person second. Don't do that. For any medical practitioners and people in life, like a person first always and the thing afterwards second. Conversely, the best story. Then by Dr. Jens Foles. With my dad, I was waiting in the waiting room. My GP after the brain hemorrhage after the hospital. In the waiting room with my dad, it's packed. It's probably 20, 30 people in the waiting room. He goes, "Dan MacQueen." I go, "Yep, over here." We walk over to Jens. I'm kind of lumbering over the cane slowly. In front of the whole room, he goes, "Dan, I read your file. I thought you'd be a wreck." Take a couple steps. Go, "Jens, I'm sorry to disappoint you." But that interaction there shows me being treated as a person first and a patient second. In life, treat people as people first and the patient second. The person first and then their job title second. Like always a person first, person to person, right? You can give me the worst news in the world, but if I'm treated as a person first, I can accept it and take it on. If you treat me as a patient first, you're like, you should just know this. And the person afterwards, like that's the wrong way to approach life. And I think that's a message I like to get across to your group.
That's a very uh, good insight, and there's a lot of areas, if not all areas of life, that we can definitely um, use that insight and just better our relationships by doing so. Um, so finally, we talked about your journey. You took us along very important things that happened. You took us through what you learned of it, what you're doing with it now, and how you're trying to portray these things to people. So, um, if you just want to sum up, what would be the things that you would tell people that see themselves in a struggle? What do you tell those people?
I think mindset's key. This is the odds of being a human being are 400 trillion to 1. It's 400 trillion to 1 is a staggering number. I had to look up how many zeros that is. A lot. I'm only alive because this blip was in my DNA. This cyst was going to grow in my pineal gland. I'm only Dan MacQueen because this was there. Now, I'm lucky enough to get a hand of cards at the table. I'm playing this hand. This card was in my deck. Nothing I could have done to avoid it. It was in my deck. I'm only Dan MacQueen because this card was in my deck. If I wasn't Dan MacQueen, I wouldn't have this card in my deck. I get to do this because it was in my deck. I'm playing the hand of God. If you can shift your perspective like you get to do this, and this is part and parcel of what you get. It's not fair, but it's yours. It's not personal, right? It's like it's just what it is. It's life. Don't get so in your own head about it. Like, just shift your mindset. Like, you get to do this. Unpack that acknowledging something to adapt framework. And take steps to improve your law day in, day out. It's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be easy, but it's simple. Simple, not easy. But every day you work towards the goal. Every day you get better than yesterday. And every day you can improve yourself. Shift your mindset. Allow yourself to think about, like, I get to do this. Don't I have to do this, but I get to do this. And watch the world unfold and conspire to help you and be successful.
All right. Thank you for that. So, if the people were as inspired by this conversation as I was, um, where can they find out more about you? Where can they get in touch with you, Dan?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. You can reach me at MacQueenDan.com. That's MacQueen Dan.com. There should be a link in the show notes. I'm also MacQueen Dan across the socials, Instagram, Twitter, whatever have you. I'm a keynote speaker based in Vancouver, Canada. I do a lot of remote trainings as well. So I've done trainings in the UK. So trained at Hootsuite for 10 years. So I'm quite adept at training online. So if that's something that your group's interested in, please get in touch. You get to do this. The way out is through. Thank you for your time, Mike.
All right. Thank you as well, Dan. Thank you for sharing your whole journey, sharing your insights. And it was really, really inspirational.
Appreciate you, Mike.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
And bye, everyone.